Thanks for tuning in to Proline TV as we are ready to go over the starting lineup for the Circuit of the Americas Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix from COTA. Circuit of the Americas, first road course race of 2025. And here we go. Look who's on the pole, believe it or not. Well, Reddick, that's not a surprise, but Bubba Wallace, the teammates. A lot of excitement there following a very exciting 1-2 qualifying setup for Reddick and Wallace. Good for them, but I do not think that's the way the race is going to end. And the reason is is because of the fact that they are the only two Toyotas, if I have this right, they are the only two Toyotas in the top 10. You have to go down to Denny Hamlin, who was 11th, to get the next Toyota. Now, while that's also, I think, important, or what's more important for me, is the fact that you have Chevy actually being the dominant manufacturer today. You had 2 practice sessions, which was nice, as well as the qualifying. And Chevy had 7 of the top 9. So once you get past the top 2 Toyotas, the remaining top 9 drivers are all Chevys. Okay, 11 of the top 16 Chevys. Forget Ford. They only have 1, and that's Todd Gilliland in the top 16. So Chevy is the dominating manufacturer on the starting lineup and in practice, which we're going to get to in just a minute. Now, as far as why this is just not a coincidence or, well, it's just a day. Well, keep this in mind. We talked about this the other day in our in-depth preview with CJ Radoon from RotoWire. And that is the fact that if you take a look at history here at this racetrack, Chevy has won 3 out of the 4. Toyota has the other win, that being Reddick. But when you look at the winners' starting position, I know it's only been 4 races, but they have all come from the top 8 rows, okay, top 16. And this is exactly where we have the cutoff here with all these Chevys. So I think that's important to note. So again, if this trend continues and it's going to be coming from one of the top 16, and that's not a surprise, it's a road course. If that is the case, then Chevy has 11 of them. 11. Ford only has 1. Toyota has the other 3. So besides Reddick and Wallace, the only other 2, so 4, 2 more Toyotas. That being Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs. All right, so I just think that percentages are all in for Chevy, not just from qualifying, okay? So let's take a look at practice. Take a look at the practice sessions here. Again, very important. We had 2 practice sessions, and here you have the top 5 drivers in practice 1 are all Chevys. Matter of fact, you do not see a Toyota in the top 8, okay? And if we go to practice number 2, I'm still on practice 1. So go to practice number 2. Why do I keep doing practice number 1? All right, practice number 2. And once again, you've got the top 3 Chevys. But then after that, no Toyota is to be found until we get to Chase Briscoe at number 12. That's not a good sign for Toyota. I don't care that they're on the front row. As much as it is important to be in good pole position in a road course, yes, totally understandable. But you have to show speed in practice. You have to show speed in the session that most drivers are tuning up for race condition. And race condition says, at least, again, on average, and everybody goes in with a different strategy. I don't have inside information on what their strategy was, but just taking a look at normal strategy, the long setup, the race setup for Reddick and Wallace is not good. Neither one of them. And 4 combined practice sessions were in the top 15. And that's important to note because Tyler Reddick, when he won his race in 2023, not only started from where did he start from? I believe, let me get Reddick's starting position in 2023, just to be sure. It was second. All right. Reddick started second in his 2023, which is okay. That's kind of normal. But he did not have, and he also, had a good practice session. So Reddick, matter of fact, I believe all four of the drivers who won, all starting in the top 16, all four of them had practice sessions. Their best practice sessions were in the top 6, I believe. Definitely in the top 10. Okay, now, and I just said this, Reddick's fastest is 16th. Twice he did that. He couldn't improve upon it in the second session. Didn't get any faster. That's a problem for me. And especially for Wallace, 100-1 coming into this. Wallace has never shown the ability to race well on most road courses, let alone this one. And so his practice sessions were extremely slow. Nobody expected this. Matter of fact, we were a little bit surprised that Reddick was so slow in practice. And then, lo and behold, there he is, first in qualifying. I just don't think that's good enough. And his odds are going to drop now. And look, he should have been the favorite to begin with. That's what we talked about the other day. He should have been the favorite. So if you got him at 7-1, and let's see here, just double check. Yes, CJ, that was his top pick. So CJ was able to get him at 7-1. You're not getting Tyler Reddick at 7-1 now. I believe Tyler Reddick is now going to be the favorite. Van Gisbergen will be co-favorite, or maybe he's the favorite, but by a little. But it'll be Reddick and Van Gisbergen neck and neck for the favorite. So I think you're probably going to look at Van Gisbergen's still going to stay at 5-1. Reddick might jump ahead of him at 4-1. Now, I have no idea, because I've seen crazier things like the Shane Van Gisbergen line from last year when he was even money at the Chicago Street Course, which was laughable. So anything crazy can happen. But that's what I guess. And I'm sorry, but if you didn't take Reddick already, I don't advise that. Not at 5 or 4-1 with these practice speeds and the history that would be against Tyler Reddick with his setup. All right. Chevy, this is going to be the way to go. Okay. Let's tell you what, let's go through the field here for each session. Okay. So once again, here's a nice one. Carson Hocevar. This kid just continues to do things that we don't expect. One of these weeks, he's going to win a race that we don't expect. We don't have any history on the guy on stock cars. And because of that, we just don't know what to expect from him from week to week. All we know is that he performed better than expected late last season. So we wanted to keep an eye on him. He nearly wins at Talladega. At Atlanta. If it wasn't for, of course, we don't go that road, the quick pull of the yellow. And now he sits here in really good position. What's better about Hocevar is he actually ended up third in happy hour practice in the fastest practice session after 13th in his opening practice run. So look, 80-1 is gone. And who would have put money on Hocevar anyway at 80-1? But you should still be able to get a decent number on him. Now, if you wind up at somewhere like 20 or 15, just forget it. You've just lost all of your bargaining power, and it's not worth it. But if Hocevar still remains 30, 40, 50-1, why not? Throw him in there. He's driving a Chevy. Okay, Suarez, I just don't trust Suarez. We talked about that the other day. If you look at Suarez, he's practiced and qualified well here before. It hasn't led to anything. He's never been in the top 15. He has one top 20. One. That was a 19th place finish last year. He's qualified in the top 5 twice. Still hasn't finished in the top, better than 19th. And his odds are going to drop. They were 25. Now they're probably going to be 15 or 12, maybe, possibly. I just can't take him. If I'm still getting 25 after this, all right, I'll consider it. But I just don't think you're going to get 25 now because his practice sessions were both in the top 10. Van Gisbergen, he was the fastest in both practice sessions. Big surprise, but he was 6th in qualifying, so that's not like a wow. He looks too hard to handle, kind of like Byron. Byron was fast in both last year. Before we go on any farther, my top pick, Chase Elliott, sure made me feel good today. Okay. Chase is in perfect position. And remember, when Chase won in 2021, he started from the 8th pole position and practiced 6th. It was best practice session there. Well, his best practice session here, 6th. And he's starting even better, 3rd. Elliott was 12-1, which was a bargain in my mind, 11-1 the other day. I couldn't believe I was getting 11-1 on Elliott when the odds makers had Connor Zilic at 5-1. And even Van Gisbergen at 5-1, who's never won a cup race on a road course before. So took that on the run, and you're not going to get that now. Chances are he's probably going to be about 7-1, maybe at the best. I still don't think that's a bad price. You can get 7-1 now in Elliott, and I think you'll still get a good number because Reddick and Van Gisbergen are going to eat up some odds. So I still think Elliott's going to have a good number there. And a couple other drivers, too, might help Elliott, and that includes Kyle Larson. All right? So you have 2 more veteran Chevys here, Larson and Busch, who will be starting in the 4th row. Both Chevys. Larson had a better go of it in all 3 sessions, all top 10s, all top 7s. Kyle was slow in the first practice, but he did improve to a top 10 in his second practice. So that was very important. And the fact that he was able to accomplish that made me feel really good as my 3rd choice earlier this week. Remember, you were getting 22-1 on Kyle Busch, and he finished 2nd a couple of years ago from the 9th position. That was his best finish. And I just think Kyle Busch, as I said in our preseason show, I think he's going to have a good year. I think he's going to win. I think he might win multiple times. So when that happens, I don't know. But I think he could be a really good, solid play here. I don't know how much the odds are going to drop. I think they'll probably drop. They might go down to 12-1. It's not bad considering how he looks. But I think you'll get a good number on him. Let's just put it that way. I'd be surprised if his numbers were exaggerated. I don't think they're going to be. Chastain, well, we talked positively about Chastain. He did not make our final, but we like the fact that he was 14-1. He's got the win here in 2022. When he won here in 2022, he was 16th. He started 16th. He was going to start 9th. He was 6th fastest in practice that year, just 10th in both sessions this year, but all 3 sessions were in the top 10 for Chastain, so I like that. And I think you're going to get the same odds, if not better. So I have no problem with Chastain. And going on down the road here, AJ, absolutely. AJ starting 12th. He's going to be someone that might be a nice little sleepy pick because his odds are going to remain solid. He started off at 12-1. So I think he's don't forget, he's got 2 wins here in the Xfinity Series. He's one of the more underrated road course drivers. Now he's a full-time driver. Now he's driving a Chevy. And AJ is definitely going to be a solid play here. We did not pick him out of our 6. Don't forget, we have long shots when we pick on Wednesdays. So, we have our favorites, our middle group, and our long shots. So there was a lot of drivers to choose from, but we liked AJ, of course. And I like him even now. As long as nothing crazy happens with his odds, you're still going to get double digits. He's a good play. And Byron, he's in good shape because even though he's starting 15th, it's in that zone, the top 16 zone. He's driving a Chevy. He was 2nd fastest, improved 12 spots from practice 1. So he's looking good. The only thing is, his odds, they stay the same. And I think they probably will. He was 7-1. Again, which is good if you like other drivers like AJ, Chastain, and Elliott. Okay, that's going to help you out. Because I think it's going to be really hard for Byron to do the back-to-back. And to kind of do the back-to-back, of course, is a little easier when you're defending a championship as it is, as we've talked about recently, winning back-to-back weeks. That's something that hasn't happened in quite a while. Over a year, over a season. And then McDowell's the last one in that top 16 zone, and we said he wasn't a bad idea for a long shot. And his speeds were okay. No top 10s, but they were okay. All top 16s, better in practice. But he's not driving a Chevy. I mean, he's driving a Chevy, excuse me. So I just think that once again, like we said the other day, because he is getting a big number and you're looking for a couple of long shots, he was 35-1. I have no problem going his way. Keeping in mind, he's with a Chevy now for the first time this season. So that's a boost. So it's going to help him out. So whatever he did before, and he's got road course wins, whatever he did before, and on this track, he does have a top 10. That was a 7th place finish. And we did say to keep an eye on him if he qualified better than expected, because he had never qualified better than 20th. Well, he qualified here is a little bit better, 16th, a little bit, but the practice sessions were also a little bit better. So now I think you have to keep an eye there. I know there were a few drivers that we said that about. Let me see here. We said to watch out if they qualify well. Let me see. Oh, Christopher Bell was one of them. Unfortunately, he's qualified 19th, and winning back-to-back is the thing that we said hasn't worked out really well for a while in the Cup Series. So I would forget about Christopher Bell this week. He does not look like a good bargain. Chris Buescher, we said to watch out. Unfortunately, he did not qualify well, but he has been a good driver on this race course in this position. He's been here before. He makes his way up through the field. He's never qualified better than 20th, and he has 2 top 10s and 3 top 15s. So if you want to go head to head, if you want to take a look at where he maybe a top 10 finish for Chris Buescher, something like that, that's not a bad idea. And McDowell was the other one. I think he was the only other one that we talked about. Watch out if he qualifies in the top 10. Moving on down, Bowman, a couple more to go. Bowman, his odds really worked up the ladder since our show. He was 20-1, and he made it up to 14-1 before qualifying in practice today. Considering he's going to start 21st, I think you might wind up going back a little bit to 20 because, but we'll see. His practice speeds, though, very strong, 2 top 5s. So he's exactly where we want him. Of course, we both loved him earlier this week. CJ has him on his picks. He's driving a Chevy, so I don't care that he's starting 21st. If somebody could win this race outside the top 16, I would be looking at Bowman at the top of the list. The only other drivers I would look at would be Buescher, of course, because of his experience, we've said. Blaney, only because he made a really big move from 19th to 4th in second practice. And then we've said before, he's a very, very solid road course driver, and you're going to get big odds for Ryan Blaney. So, and they're capable of making strategic decisions too to try to benefit their cause on some of these road courses. So you keep an eye on that. But the most disappointing is Austin Cindric, because Austin looked like everything was fine, top 10 practice to start everything. And then he got a little slower in second practice, and then the setup for qualifying was awful. He was loose as a goose, and that is not going to be good. He's already driving a Ford, and they've got their backs against the wall coming in here to begin with. History is not on their side, and now it's even worse. So, yeah, I'll tell you this. Cindric, you were getting good odds on Cindric. What was he? What were you getting? You were getting a very generous 35-1 on Cindric. And I don't see those odds changing very much. Matter of fact, they might even get a little bit better. Would I take him now? Sure, I still would, because he's more than capable. But I wouldn't do more than a couple of bucks. That's it. So, Buescher, Blaney, and Cindric would be the ones I put a couple of bucks on just in case, big long shots. Bowman being the more realistic. He's the definite outside the zone, the top 16 that could pull off the win. And yeah, I'm just going to say it's Chevy. That's it. It might look like it was Toyota's day with Toyota on the front row, but besides them being on the front row, Chevy dominated everything else. Does that mean they're going to win? No, as we saw with Ford in Atlanta and Daytona. But statistically speaking, on the average, Chevy is the way to go. So I would check them out. And I still feel very strong about Elliott and others that I would throw in there right now. Again, Hocevar still a long shot. Would be, I don't know where Larson's going to drop, because your odds on Larson were 9-1. I think he'll stay at 9-1. Maybe he goes down a little bit. If he goes down to like 6-1 or something, which is possible, it's Kyle Larson, then I just wouldn't do it. That's just too low for Larson here. Because again, he has never really fared well at this road course versus the others. And he can't take them all the time on all the road courses. I mean, he could, but there's just other more options to go with nowadays at road courses that to just stick with that strategy might not be smart. Because look, Larson proved it last year. He's hit or miss. He's either going to have a great run, he's going to win a race, and you're going to go, wow, man, that's the best driver in the series. Or he's going to be very disappointing. And that's just been the way Kyle Larson's been. So you always have to pick your spots with Kyle Larson, odds-wise. So again, if you get good odds, still get good odds on him. Even if it's 7, 8, 9, I'd have to, I'm okay with maybe. That's okay. But lower than that, 7's on the border. But I'll leave that up to you. And then also, I think Kyle's still fine. Chastain is still fine. And AJ's still fine. I'm not going to go with Byron, but because it is hard winning back-to-back. And his odds are probably going to be too low. So as far as if I had to just finish this with how I would do it, Bowman's my top long shot now. And he should be a long shot. And then Hocevar is another long shot who I know will be a long shot. And then I would go with, obviously, Elliott's my top driver. And then I would go with, I'd probably say AJ and Larson might be right next after Elliott. Big surprise, and then Kyle and Chastain right after those. All right, so that's going to do it. I'm out of here. Best of luck on Sunday. Questions or comments? Let us know what's on your mind. Give us your picks. Let us know what you think. Don't forget, we'll be back on Wednesday for another show and another race preview. You can also check out Kevin's preview of this race. He did this yesterday, so I have a link in the description for that. There's a link in the description from our show earlier this week with CJ and I. We'll check out CJ's preview, the RotoWire preview. You can check that out for the race, fantasy over at rotowire.com. And that'll wrap it up. So again, we'll see you for another qualifying report next week, another starting lineup report. And first and foremost, we'll check back with you on Wednesday for another NASCAR Cup race preview show. So once again, enjoy, best of luck, and we'll see you next time.